Hello students, myself Amrita Dhar, Assistant Professor of Electrical Engineering Department of Greater Kolkata College of Engineering and Management, JIS Group.
In this video, I will discuss about history and various system for electric traction. This topic is included in Module 4 of the subject Utilization, Traction, Heating and Drives. Subject code is EE/S5/UTHD. So let's start. In this video, I will discuss about electric traction. Electric traction. Now, traction system can broadly speaking be classified as those which do not involve use of electrical energy at any stage, such as steam engine, and other internal combustion engine drive. Okay, they do not use electrical energy. And those traction systems which involve use of electrical energy at some stage or other, such as diesel electric drive, battery electric drive, straight electric drive, they use electrical energy. These are all the traction system, and these are included in electrical traction system. Electric traction is the most efficient of all other system and is going to be the future system to be adopted by almost all the countries of the world. Reasons in addition to being most efficient can be assigned to these trends are: first, since the electric motors are used as drives, the system is clean and pollution free. The system is clean and pollution free. Next, starting torque is very high and therefore high acceleration is possible. So, high acceleration is possible. In fact, by using regenerative braking, energy can be pumped back into the system, especially during periods of descents, so that instead of kinetic energy of the train being dissipated in the brake shoe and wheel tires, it would be converted into electrical energy and returned to the supply system. And thus, besides saving electrical energy, maintenance cost of brake shoe, wheel tower, tires and track rails would be reduced, which may be sufficient to cover a fair percentage of the cost of electrification. Next, electric traction is more suitable especially for suburban and urban railways where frequent starting and stopping and high schedule speeds are required. starting and stopping, and high schedule speeds are the characteristics of this electric traction. So it is can be used in suburban and urban areas where these two characteristics are required. Now with higher schedule speeds, the train kilometers which can be run with a given equipment in a given time are greater, and hence an electric train is capable of handling a greater volume of traffic as compared to the same number of steam train. Now having same number of seating accommodation, the electric train has additional features that can be divided and run in section during the periods of light traffic. With this, frequent service of trains can be maintained, leading to increased traffic due to these periods. Next advantages is the coefficient of adhesion is high, which is the disadvantage of steam engine drive. Coefficient of adhesion is high in electric traction. Now, so that for same tractive effort, the electric locomotives are lighter and hence higher speed on gradients are possible. Next, overloading of electric motors is possible. Overloading of electric motors is possible. Okay, for some time depending upon the degree of overloading. Next one, center of gravity of electric traction is lower. Than that of the steam locomotive, and hence electric locomotive runs faster at curved routes. Now the major disadvantages of electric traction is its higher capital cost, and power failures for a short time may cause complete dislocation of the traffic. Next one is requirements of an ideal traction system. Requirements of ideal traction system. Some of the important requirements of the driving equipment used for traction purposes are: first, the coefficient of adhesion should be high. The coefficient should be high. Next, it should be possible to overload the equipment. Overload the equipments. Number 2, the wear cost on the brake shoe, wheel tires and the track should be minimum. Wear should be minimum. Okay. Next, it should be possible to use regenerative braking, so that on descent it should be possible to generate energy and feedback to the supply system. Next requirement is regenerative braking. The locomotive of the train unit should be self-contained so that it can run on any route. And the last one, it should be pollution free. So from the previous discussion, it can be concluded that the electric traction satisfied the most of the requirements, even though it does not satisfy all of them, but it satisfies most of the requirements. Next is the supply system for electric traction. Supply system for electric traction. Now mainly three are the supply system for electric traction. First is the direct current system. Direct current system. Next one is the single phase AC system. Now at low frequency 162 by 3 Hz or 25 Hz, and at normal frequency of 50 Hz. 50 Hz. And the third one is the 3-phase AC system. Okay, so first we discuss the direct current AC system. Now in this system, energy is obtained from the substation, which consists of transformer and converting equipments like SCR, because transformer is used only for AC, so we require the converting equipment so AC can be converted to DC. And the substation are spaced at a distance of 3 to 5 kilometers. And in case of suburban railways, operating voltage is for suburban 1500 volt DC system, and in case of main lines it is 3000 volt DC system. It is for main line and it is for suburban. Okay. Now they are spaced at a distance 40 to 50 kilometers, and these substations are of unattended type. The DC motor have better torque speed characteristics and lower maintenance cost and smaller weight per horsepower and better speed control and efficient regenerative braking as compared to single phase AC motors. The motors are designed to operate at line voltage, even though it is desirable for voltages above 1500 volt to operate 2 or more than 2 motors in series permanently. Next is a single phase AC system. In single phase system, the energy for trains is drawn directly at high voltages 15 kV to 25 kV from a generating station, and when the length of the electrification is about 35 kilometers. 15 kV to 25 kV. And for longer distance it is for 35 kilometers, and for the longer distance the economic voltage of power transmission is higher than which is desired for traction system, and hence transformer substation are necessary. With 162 by 3 Hz supply, the traction motors are of single phase series types and are supplied at low voltage of order 400 volt from a transformer carried out on the vehicle. With both DC and single phase system, only one contact wire is normally used, and the running rails act as a return conductor. Low frequency operation of the AC motors improved its commutation properties, power factor and efficiency, and low frequency operation of overhead line reduced the line reactance, and hence for the same voltage drop substation can be spaced at relatively wide distance of 50 to 80 kilometers. Now, in case of supply at low frequency is obtained from a generating station exclusively meant for the traction purposes, there is no problem as power corresponding to this frequency can always be generated. But if the power is to be drawn from existing industrial electric network, the frequency converters along with transformer will be required to convert 3-phase 50 Hz into single phase 162 by 3 Hz to 25 Hz as required. Next we discuss about 3-phase system. In case of 3-phase system, energy can be drawn directly from the existing 3-phase electric network or by using transformer substation. In case of a network is operating at higher voltage, the system therefore has high efficiency as no converting equipment is involved. Now here are two trolley wires per track are required and are connected between two phases of the supply. The induction motor is used as the drive, which is robust in construction and cheap in the first coal. Now it has high efficiency and it acts as an induction generator when runs at a speed more than its synchronous speed, and thus during regenerative braking by changing the number of poles, the synchronous speed can be reduced and hence the power can be pumped back into the supply system. And since it is a constant speed motor which can be used to limit the speed of the train to a definite value. So, 3-phase mainline railways operated at voltage 3300 to 3600 and a frequency range of 162 by 3 Hz, and low starting torque, high starting current and constant speed characteristics of induction motors are some of the reasons why 3-phase system could become popular for the traction system. Now, efforts have been made to combine the advantages of these AC, DC and 3-phase and single-phase system, and composite system have been evolved. The AC system is preferable from the viewpoint of the distribution and contact wire system, and it can be converted into DC in the locomotive and can be used to run DC series motor, which have been most desirable characteristics for traction purpose. And another known as Kando system developed in Hungary 1932 uses a phase converter on the locomotive to convert single phase supply to 3-phase supply at relatively lower frequency. With the development of SCRs, and it has been possible to obtain frequency as low as half Hz to 10 Hz, and at low frequency the induction motor developed high starting torque without drawing excessive current from the system, and easy speed control is made possible by varying the frequency of the supply. Next is the historical background of railway electrification in India. Historical background of railway electrification in India. Now, before we actually take up various power supply system for track electrification, it will be in order to know historical background of railways in India. Now, this explains how Indian railways have attained presence stature, especially among electrified railways in the world. Now, railway made their first appearance in India in April 1853 when a section from Bombay to Kalyan Bombay to Kalyan 32 miles was open to the traffic, and this was followed by Calcutta Raniganj of 130 miles and Madras to Arkonam line. This is 39 miles. So this is the first appearance of railway in India. Now the management of railway was left to private companies who used to run the system in different territories on 99-year lease basis. And there was however a clause in the lease deed which could enable government to purchase the lines after every 25 years. As railway system consisting of broad meter and narrow gauges grew in size haphazardly owing to historical reasons, so also grew the public demand for its nationalization. A committee appointed by the government of India in 1920 went into the justification of the normalization of the whole railway system. On the favorable recommendation of this committee, railway were gradually taken up by central government, and this process started in 1925, took full 25 years to complete when railway were recognized and renamed on zonal basis. Now, electric traction was first introduced on the British Railway in the year 1980. Electric traction in India first introduced by British Railways in 1890 at 600 volt DC using third rail. Even though the cross section of the rail was enough to carry heavy traction currents because of low voltage, and the use of third railway even at 600 volt was fraught with danger to life, and hence this system was not considered desirable especially for open lines. In addition to this, large current entailed heavy losses, and this therefore necessitated to closer spacing of the substation with larger size of rotatory converters. Initial development were therefore towards increasing the voltage, and the line rail system utilizing 1200 volt was tied in Manchester to Bury line. Rail was covered with slow burning type of wood and 3 sides to provide protection against accidental contact. The collection of current was from one side of the rail through a shoe and moving in the groove formed between head of the rail and protective plank of the wood. And this system of supply was also not satisfactory, as the protection afforded by the wooden plank was insufficient, and also during winter season snow would choke up the groove. To overcome these advantages, overhead contact system was adopted, and raising the line voltage to 1500 volt was possible only due to the advances made in the design of manufacturing techniques of rotatory converters. As a result, it was possible to have 2 rotatory converters 75 volt connected in series for this 100-500 volt. And there have been advances on the traction motor side also, where now manufactured suitable for the operation of 1500 volt supply, and this in fact now made to 3000 volt DC traction system and possible, in which 2 motors are permanently connected in series, and 3000 volt DC supply is made available by mercury arc rectifiers instead of rotatory are rotatory converters. Now, in India, first electrification was undertaken during the period 1925 to 1932, and this include 304 route kilometer or 692 track kilometer on railway between the Bombay VT to Igatpuri, and Pune 62 kilometer or 210 track kilometer on Western Railway between Churchgate and Virar, and 32 kilometer or 77 kilometer of meter gauge between Madras Beach and Tambaram. And this gives total of 398 route kilometer or 979 track kilometer of electrification, which remains static for a period of 2 decades. And as regards electrification around Calcutta is concerned, the project studies started in 1920, and but it was only in 1954 when the traffic has become 3 times within a period of 7 years after partition of India, and that it was decided to electrify mainline section from Howrah to Bardhaman and Shaurafuli to Tarokeshwar branch on 3000 volt DC. Now this works of 142 route kilometer or 443 track kilometer was completed in August 1958, and choice of this 3000 volt was made because general trend up to 1951 was towards 3000 volt DC system. In fact, between 1950 to 51, extensive electrification scheme all at 3000 volt DC were undertaken in the countries such as Belgium, Brazil, Italy, Poland, Spain and Russia. Though single phase 50 Hz AC system had its origin in Hungary in 1932. Railway Board in 1957, after making sure that single phase traction load will not produce adverse effect of unbalance and harmonics in 3-phase power supply, and decided to adopt 25 kV 50 cycle single phase system of electrification for all future scheme. So far, up to end of March 1972, 3928 route kilometer or about 10,200 track kilometer have been electrified, and on the basis India now occupies second position in Asia first being Japan. Among the world, India occupies 11th position. It is expected to electrify about 1702 route kilometer during the 4th 5-year plans. Now, as proportion of the broad gauge route kilometer, the electrified track of 3928 route kilometer now amounts to approximately 13% of the total BG route kilometer. For the future electrification, it is contemplated that the major trunk routes interlinking the metropolitan cities Calcutta, Delhi, Bombay and Madras should be electrified, because the traffic density on these routes is very heavy, and while the actual length of this trunk route constitutes only about 14% of the total BG track meterage, and they carry almost 50% of the good traffics. So this is the historical background of railway electrification in India.
That's all from today's class. If you have any problem, please contact with me. My contact details is given on the first slide. Thank you.